out with her. I wonder if that's what furry conventions do when they do yoga.
We've been rolling.
Oh, fuck.
All right.
That just gave me a head rush. Welcome back, typical 2.9ers. And for those who just fuck their GPA, for those who don't know, welcome to Below Your 4.0, a channel full of fuck-ups where people fuck up, not to be confused with people who do fucked up things. Like in today's topic, about furries. You know them, you've seen them. We all have a secret soft spot for Nick Wilde. The only furry thing that is forgivable is that Zootopia film. Maybe we should have talked about that in our Disney video, which if you haven't seen it, you should. So what are furries exactly? They're just regular people who saw an animal and thought,
yeah, I'd hate that.
That's disgusting. Now, of course, that's not all furries, but I bet everyone would swipe right on Lola Bunny. Personally, though, no, I'm stopping. We're not even getting into that. Just stop it! Basically, furries are just people who wear Chuck E. Cheese heads, and instead of doing it for minimum wage and a desperate need to pay rent, they do it for fun. And somehow, they don't want to end it all at the end of the day.
Yikes!
Surprisingly, they have entire communities built around this idea, and even conventions, just like Comic-Con, but with more fur and less shame. So I'm going to learn everything from a surface level, because honestly, I'm scared of diving in and drowning in the furry fandom. There's some things you just don't want to see too closely, and this just might be one of them. What the fuck is a furry? A furry is, quite simply put, someone who is interested in anthropomorphic.
Finally.
Interested in anthropomorphic animals. But Jax.
Aren't they the weird kids in mascot costumes?
Why, yes. Yes, they are. The entirety of their existence is a beautiful and complex trash fire that will be warming our little paws by for the next 15 minutes. Where do they come from? Where do they go? Furries. A brief retrospective. Furries can trace their breeding lineage all the way back to the late 1970s, when a pair of D-gens started a small magazine company called Furry that contained articles and info about interests just like any other magazine, but the bulk of the pages were dedicated to cartoons of anthropomorphic? Yep, anthropomorphic animals fucking. We jump forward to the early 80s, and one of these guys brings in a picture from another animal smut book to a sci-fi convention. This gets them talking, and eventually it becomes a regular topic of conversation at conventions. Could I foreshadow any harder? We also start to see the actual mention of the name furry coming up in other small fanzines. Now we're burning right into everyone's favorite decade, the 90s. Woo! Gotta love it. We have ourselves a full-blown definition for furries. Now everyone stand the fuck back for this shit show. The organized appreciation and dissemination of art and prose. God damn it. Dissemination. I'm going to disseminate you. The organized appreciation. Yep, that's the word.
One more time.
The organized appreciation and dissemination of art and prose regarding furries or fictional mammal. We're just creating words.
Let's try this one more time.
The organized appreciation and dissemination of art and prose regarding furries or fictional mammalian anthropomorphic animals. Just kidding, characters.
Close enough.
Fuck, that was a mouthful. But we'll talk about mouthfuls at the end. We're also seeing furry message boards and websites popping up on the early internet. That shit must have been the Wild West. You know, horses. Whoa. Did someone say the aughts? Do you want to get aughty? Oh my god. I knew you were going to kill me for that. The early 2000s was where the smaller clubs are starting to get organized and larger cons started to appear. Technically, the first furry convention was held in the 1989, the aptly named Conference Zero. But by the 2000s, they're filling conference centers and becoming more visible. From then on, it's only growing in popularity and general acceptance. But you've got to admit, there's something very unsettling about those big, dead eyes staring into your soul while you know there's a dude inside sweating harder than Drake driving by a high school. Don't even mention the anatomically attached tails.
I'm wagging my tail like an idiot.
A day in the life. Do they take off the suits? For the most part, furries are like anyone else. They eat, they sleep, they shit in a box full of sand in their laundry room. They're just people trying to exist. They live normal lives compared to everyone else, other than when it's time to confer with the pack. A lot of people are attracted to the lifestyle for socialization. Everyone is there for a common purpose, and it's easier to interact with other people when you're playing a character. It makes sense. Oh, I guess this is how it all starts. Furries have families, other hobbies, jobs.
Well, time to go to work.
While we're on the topic, can we talk about the crazy amount of IT pros who are actually furries? It's an actual joke at this point. If furry conventions were bombed, half of America's IT structure would crumble. I guess we need to make furries a protected species.
Yikes!
Extracurriculars, playtime, crafts, everything from mini plushies of your favorite anthropomorphic character to full-blown fursuits with built-in animatronics. Think Chuck E. Cheese with meat inside. These guys are creative if nothing else. It's honestly astounding seeing how much detail goes into the suits. Some people even lay individual hairs like wig makers. Role-playing, without any spoilers to my final segment, can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And I promise, whatever you're thinking, it gets weirder. Online communities. These are the day-to-day home of furries. The means to communicate. Den, if you will. The amount of pocket communities and fetishes that come out of them is absolutely astonishing. But again, that's for another segment. And here's the big one. Conventions. Oh my god, the conventions. Hundreds of people in $3,000 mascot suits, each emitting their own unique and pungent odor. Conventions are the cornerstone of the furry world. The internet is where most of the communication happens, but the cons are where the magic happens. Conventions are the perfect place to see new art, attend workshops, see special guest panels, and most importantly, you can buy shit. It's basically a pop-up specialty mall where everyone wears a costume and pays premium dollars for food court hot dogs. No hate, it's the same as other conventions, just more shitty.
Who sat in my chair?
The convention is the reason for going. The after parties are the reason to stay at a nearby boarding kennel. From the little bit I was brave enough to Google, these after parties are getting fucking wild. W-I-L-D, wild. Like we might need to pressure wash the fursuit kind of wild. What does everyone else think of furries? There are only two options in this world. Become a furry or don't. Everything else in this world is inconsequential.
The world is ending.
As someone who identifies as a don't, I think they're ultimately just normal people. Even if their uncanny valley looking eyes say otherwise. Public perception of the community is pretty broad, but it's leaning more towards the accepted side of things as furry culture becomes more present and mainstream. At the very least, people know what a furry is, but unfortunately, I've never gotten to see one in the wild.
I'm hunting wabbits.
What do you dorks think? Give me a wag in the comments. 1 like equals 1 new fursuit for a metaphysical cat in need. Is it just for fucking? Listen, I know all you perverts are here because you want me to talk about these critters fucking, and I'm not gonna do it.
No! God, please, no! No!
Just kidding, I put it in the end for retention. I'm gonna break this down for you guys within the confines of YouTube's TOS, so it's gonna be pretty vanilla. Listen, you're always free to get down on your paws and do the digging yourself. That's a take. So, is it for fucking? Yes and no. We'll enter it from different areas of the fandom, and that will kind of dictate where it initially goes. Any way you start, it leads down the same rabbit hole.
Rabbit comes up from his hole.
For the people coming into it from a social angle or a content-driven interest, it usually stays that way for the most part. They enjoy playing the character or just feel more comfortable being anonymous. Inevitably, it becomes an avenue to mate. And why wouldn't the costumes just be a part of it? Just like any other convention, business comic, or otherwise, a bunch of people in a room for a shared interest are just going to start fucking. You sprinkle in the anonymous nature of a fursuit, and the odds of fucking just go through the roof. You're basically wearing a glory hole if it's put together correctly. Now, for the people coming straight into the community from a path of cartoon animal smut and leather dog uniforms, it's obviously going to be about the fucking with a side of community and friendship after the fact. So lovely. Before we dive into that side of things, I have to tell you something. Come here. This is the end, and you nasty little freaks are gonna have to come back for part 2 if you want to hear about milk maidens and pony parades. Let's be real for a second. If furries are your thing, more power to you. Everyone's got their quirks, and if dressing up as an anthropomorphic wolf makes you happy, then who am I to judge? Just don't expect me to be joining you at the next convention.
But we already are the fursuits.
We're not supposed to tell them. Furries are just everyday folks who decided loving animals just wasn't enough. They had to become them. Honestly, the internet is a magical place, and we should probably burn it to the ground before it's too late. There's so much more furry shit that just needs to come to the surface, but I don't want to be the one to dig for it. That's why my producer is putting on his kitty ear headphones and doing it for me. So I'm gonna end it here before I fucking end it all. Remember to subscribe, 2.9ers. I scared the dog.